Amazon Fire TV Omni QLED. Let's review it. Hi, welcome to ZGadgetReview. The Amazon Fire TV Omni QLED is the top of the line within Amazon's TVs. Yes, Amazon makes their own TVs, or at least they put their brand on a TV. Now, this is a TV that comes with quantum dots, and by being the top of the line TV within their lineup, comes with a bunch of other features. So you have your Ethernet port, your 3 HDMI 2.0 ports. Down here, we have your HDMI 2.1 port and eARC. So HDMI 4 is your HDMI 2.1 port, antenna, USB, your IR emitter for if you have an IR blaster, your headphones, and your optical sound. The TV also has full array local dimming with 64 dimming zones. The TV also supports Dolby Vision, HDR10+, Dolby Sound, not Dolby Atmos, not to get confused with the difference. This TV does not support Dolby Atmos, and this TV only supports 60 Hz refresh rate. So if you're looking for a TV that does 120, this isn't it. This TV, of course, is a 4K TV. The size of the TV that I'm reviewing is 55 inches, which currently retails for $439.99. So $440, and that's as of October 2023 when I shot this video. This TV comes in 43, 50, 55, 65, and 75 inches. The frame of the TV is all metal all around, which gives the TV that premium look and feel, especially since this is supposed to be Amazon's top of the line TV. Here we have the back of the TV. The back of the TV is made of plastic. Plastic doesn't feel very cheap. It feels, I will say, in the middle. It has these ridges here, which I'm not sure what they're for. And here you have your spaces if you want to mount the TV. At the bottom of the TV, we have a small black box. That black box houses your movement and light sensors, which are there for Fire TV's ambient experience. At the bottom of this box, you have a switch that you can move if you want to mute Alexa or if you want to unmute Alexa. What that means is that if you mute Alexa, you will make it so the microphones don't hear what you're saying. You'll see a little red light that comes on that box, letting you know that you have muted Alexa. There's also a prompt on the screen if you have the screen on. Once you unmute Alexa, then that little red dot will disappear, and it also will give you a prompt on the screen, assuming you have the screen on. At the top of the TV, we have another sort of black box as well that houses the microphones for Alexa to be able to hear you. The power button next to your Alexa mute switch also works as a navigation button in case you misplace your remote. The remote looks like the remote that you get in most Fire TV devices. It's a small remote. We have the 4 shortcut buttons: Prime Video, Netflix, DirecTV. For some reason, I don't know, they paid a lot of money for that. Peacock. The remote comes with an Alexa button in case you want to speak directly into the microphone on the remote. Now let's talk Alexa, since it's at the center of your TV experience. If you are an Alexa user, an Echo device user, then you're well familiar with the capabilities of what Alexa can do, answering questions, giving information. Same thing that most, I will say, smart assistants can do. The special thing about Alexa on this TV is that it allows you to control your TV with just your voice. It does come with a remote, so don't be afraid, you will always have a remote to use. But Alexa can do many things on the TV for you. This is, let's say, an Amazon Fire TV Cube, if you're familiar with that device, with a screen on it. So you can tell it to turn on the TV, turn off the TV, change the channel. You can ask it to change the inputs on your TV. You can ask it to suggest programming for you. All that with your voice. So technically you don't need to pick up the remote. Alexa, go to HDMI 4. And it's going to switch to HDMI 4. Alexa, go to YouTube TV.
All right, here's YouTube TV.
So that's kind of how the whole hands-free thing works. A little longer than I would like it to be. Along with that Alexa experience, you get what Amazon calls FireTV ambient experience. And what that means is that that bottom part of your TV also has movement sensors and light sensors that it allows it to tell when someone is in the room or someone literally walks in front of the TV. And the screen will turn on in what they're calling an art experience. It will show you different pictures, technically what comes to be a screensaver. This comes with different widgets that you can program as well, and it allows you to tailor the experience in a way that you can have the TV on all of the time. And this sensor is very, very sensitive. It also has a pretty far range depending on how you set it. Just to show you how the TV reacts to movement when you approach it and what is it that it shows you. If you're going to have this in a living room, for example, in a room where there's a lot of movement, get ready to have the screen on all of the time. Now, if you're familiar with the Echo Show 15, think of it that way. They're moving pretty much that Echo Show experience and putting it on this TV. For the ambient experience settings, you go all the way to the right to your settings. Here, you go down to where it says display and sounds. And then all the way down here where it says ambient experience is whether you want to leave the setting on or off. If you don't want this TV to wake up when you walk in front of the TV, you can turn it off. And down here under ambient preferences, you can customize what the TV presents to you. It wakes up. So here you have your widget sizes. What border do I want to use? We have black, navy, gray. So this is if you have the TV hanging on the wall, for example, and you want to give it a look of being a picture. I'm going to leave it as none. Background shuffle on or off. Right now, obviously, I have it off. I'm going to keep it on. Do I want the clock on the upper left-hand corner or not? Whether do I want it on or off? I'm going to keep it on. And so you can see here, I have my time, my temperature, and my background. So this is what the TV will display while is in waiting. And here you can see what it shows and how big the card is. It takes a little while for everything to come up. And then here I can go and click on different things if I want to. But besides those downsides about the user experience that I just explained, everything else works exactly like you would expect an Alexa Amazon Fire TV product to work. I was pleasantly surprised at how good the picture on this TV was. But let me let you know that the reason is because I wasn't expecting much from this TV. I bought this TV to put it in a spare room. I wanted to have a dedicated TV that I could have in a room that I'm going to use for working out. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money because of that reason on the TV. And I got a lot more than I expected picture-wise. Because as you can see here, starting with screen uniformity, you can see that it is pretty uniform based on this pattern. I lowered the brightness on the camera to show you better what the screen looks like. As you can see, there's a little bit of dimness on the corners of the screen. It's not very noticeable, but it's there. Something you don't usually see on LED TVs at this price point. We also see that there isn't any light leak when using an all black pattern. Light leak usually is when you have light that shows up in the corners of the TV. You can see a little bit of white in the corners sometimes on LED TVs at this price point. Speaking of the black colors on this TV, that blacks are a lot better than I would have expected. And they're not inky black like an OLED TV, but they also don't fall on the grayish part of what usually an LED TV gives you when it's showing you a black screen. Let me give more praise to this TV when it comes to colors. Colors were pretty accurate and they were pretty punchy thanks to the quantum dots that the TV has. They're actually doing their job by giving you a screen that is very colorful. It isn't oversaturated or overpowered. It's just right. And of course, you can tweak the colors better if you know what you're doing and you have something to do it with, like the Spears & Mansel's disc. Contrast is good for the most part. The TV has full array local dimming, which means that this TV actually does a pretty good job at handling blooming. I was expecting this TV to have a lot of blooming around subtitles or, images in dark screens, but I was actually surprised to see very little blooming around the image. As you can see on this pattern here, I point out that there's a little bit of blooming around the honey dropping, but it's very hard to notice. I think that most people who are watching this TV probably won't notice that there's blooming around things in the image. For me, the best setting for the full array local dimming setting was to have it at low. It does an okay job at handling reflections. As you can see here, you can see that I'm moving a strong light in front of the screen and it is visible. I wouldn't say that it's super distracting, but in a room where you have a lot of light, you might have some issues if you have a lot of light pointing towards the screen. This TV was set in front of a window, so the light was coming from the window behind the TV and onto me. And as you can see, some of these images of my daytime viewing, I didn't show too much on the screen. My reflection wasn't distracting on the screen as it could be on some TVs. I do think that if you have this TV where a window is actually facing the screen, that you might have some more of those reflections, and that's when your viewing experience might suffer. Let's talk about gaming. So if you're looking for gaming, this TV only does 60 Hz refresh rates, but you will be very surprised at how well it does despite not handling the 120 Hz. And the reason is because when I connected this to an Xbox Series X, as you can see here, it actually is compatible with every single feature that the Xbox Series X offers, including Dolby Vision gaming. It does miss out on Atmos and it does miss out on 120 Hz, but everything else, as long as you have it plugged into your HDMI 2.1 port, you're going to be covered. If you're in a budget, if you're going to put this in a spare room that you're going to game from once in a while, and you don't need all the bells and whistles that you get from a TV with more features, this TV is going to work pretty well for gaming. The TV performed well with my Call of Duty sessions. As you can see here, we're on HDMI 4, Dolby Vision, 4K. And as you can see, the TV isn't super bright on Dolby Vision or HDR. It is a little brighter than when it's on standard. I'm gonna die. But it doesn't get as bright. So I'm going to say that I don't think that it's even hitting 1000 nits when it's on HDR, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Of course, because you want that brightness when the TV is on HDR or, HDR10, HDR10 Plus, Dolby Vision, any of that. You want to have that bright image, but that's not what we're getting here. I didn't notice input lag when I was playing games. Now keep in mind that I don't have the tools to measure input lag, so this is all based on my use experience when I was playing games on the TV. Here are some examples of regular TV content to give you an idea of how the TV app scales the content. Here we have a football game at 1080p. It looks pretty good. Then we have here a football game at 720p. And so I'm using these two games to show you something in regular TV that's being broadcasted in either 720 or 1080p. This is coming from YouTube TV. I don't use cable or antenna. And then finally, I'm using this reality TV show at 1080p. And the reason why I'm using this is because it doesn't have a lot of fancy cinematography and lighting. So I figure something simple that is on broadcast TV will be a good example of how well the TV upscales and shows content that isn't 4K or HDR. But of course, not everything is perfect on this TV. Where it really falls hard, in my opinion, is HDR presentation. In HDR, the screen doesn't get bright enough to give you the brightness that you expect from an HDR image. And that is sad because it does so good in other areas that falling flat on HDR is not a good thing. But it's not only the brightness. All of a sudden, when you use regular HDR, I'm talking about HDR10, that the image feels a little flat. It loses a little of the detail and that contrast that you get on SDR content, which is, I know, odd, but it does happen with HDR. Where the TV actually shines and recuperates its luster, let's say, is with Dolby Vision content. When it comes to Dolby Vision content and why the whole metadata information is important, the TV does a much better job at showing you the contrasts. Again, the TV doesn't get brighter just because it's in Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision also has a low brightness presentation, again, when it comes to HDR content, but it does a little better at showing you colors and contrast in that mode versus regular HDR10. Of course, the quantum dots do a much better job when the TV is set to Dolby Vision. Trust me, if you do get this TV and you watch HDR content and Dolby Vision content, you will be able to see the difference between one and the other. Of course, there are other negatives with this TV. As any LED TV, you don't get a good viewing experience if you watch a TV from the side. You have to be dead center on that screen in order to get all the goodness of the picture. If you're too much to the left or too much to the right, you're going to start seeing the image that looks a little washed out. One of my biggest pet peeves, something that I find super annoying, is when TVs don't allow you to save your settings across all ports. And that's exactly what this TV does. If you calibrate, let's say, HDMI 1, that means that you have to recalibrate HDMI 2, 3, and 4 if you're planning on using all of your HDMI ports. And that is just, I just don't understand why is it so hard to copy settings from one to the other. And okay, let's say like this TV, right, has four HDMI ports. 3 of them are 2.0, one is 2.1. Let's say that the 2.1 cannot save into 2.0. Fine, great, I get it. But then I should be able to save the settings from my 2.0 HDMI port. Oh, and on top of that, your settings also don't save for streaming content, which means that you also have to calibrate for streaming content. That is really annoying. Let's talk sound. This one's going to be a quick one, okay? Sound on this TV, no good. No good at all. The TV has two 8-watt speakers, meaning the TV gives you 60 watts of power. No, it isn't power. It is very tiny sound. If you're gonna get this TV, my recommendation is to get a soundbar. Any soundbar will be better than whatever you can get from the speakers on this TV. The TV is much better than I expected it to be. Much better based on price and the fact that it's an LED TV. Now, if Amazon continues to improve upon this TV in particular and add some missing features like 120Hz refresh rates, all HDMI 2.1 features that you expect on a TV, I think that Amazon could actually become a contender within this category of the market, where a TV isn't super expensive, but isn't also super cheap. It's kind of like middle of the road TV. I think Amazon could do very well if they add those features. With that said, I wouldn't recommend it as the center of your entertainment. And the reason is because if you play video games, this doesn't support 120 Hz. And so you won't be able to take advantage of all the features that your console, PS5, Xbox Series X and S can offer you right now. The other thing is that HDR isn't bright enough as it should be. And so that harms how good the TV can be for a daily basis use. Now, who would I recommend it to? I would recommend it to you if you're looking for a TV to put in your bedroom to watch stuff before going to bed. If you're gonna watch TV an hour, half hour before you go to bed, and you want something that isn't going to break the bank, this TV is gonna work great for you. It has all the streaming services that you might need. If you have a spare room, a guest room where you have family members to stay or friends to stay with you once in a while, this will work great for them too. If you run an Airbnb, that will also work for you. It gives a pretty good picture to your guests, and your guests will be able to find anything they want to watch. So I would recommend it to those people. Now, if you are looking for a 4K TV to upgrade, if you haven't upgraded to 4K TV, I will say wait, save a little more money and buy something better, because you can get something much better than this for a few $100s more. That is where I am recommendation wise on this TV. What do you think about the Amazon Fire TV Omni QLED series, except for being a mouthful. And I feel they need to probably work on making the name of this TV smaller because it's freaking huge. What do you think about this TV? Do you own this TV? Have you been thinking about buying this TV? Do you have any questions? Something that I probably didn't cover in this review? Let me know in the comment section. That is it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. Thank you very much for watching.